Pleasure being here once again. My name is Peter Muya. I consider myself a gift from God to humanity. I'm blessed with the ability to identify pattern recognition. So I use that in my skills, in my talents, in my training to write a testimony to the world through what I do as a practitioner in the IT space and also in poetry, as a writer, as a runner, and as a motivator of young people. For you to reflect, you need some kind of data. You need to look to something. There has to have been something documented.
The IT man.
For you to reflect. So I would say that over the, in progressively through the year, there have been things that have been happening and they have been documented in my life. So I have been able to track certain things. So I have something to fall back and look back at and say, okay, at this point in time, this is what happened. At this point in time, this is what I was able to achieve, or these are the setbacks I faced, and these are the lessons I learned. Yeah. So there has to be something for you to look back to, for you then to be able to reflect on. I think that's what I would say. If you notice during the heats or the preliminaries, before the run itself, runners are introduced. Yeah, so lane 1 is so and so from Jamaica, lane 2 like that. And usually they don't just say the name. They say the things you have done in the past. This is a national champion in their country, and the guy celebrates, they do things, to show where they are coming. So every one of them comes with a pedigree, what I call some form of an accomplishment from the past. But only a few win, or at least only 3 take the top 3 position. So you are competing against people who are already winners in their own, because they own qualifications to get there. So they are winners in themselves. And before even the race starts, these guys celebrate being recognized as winners. I think that's important. To come to when you're coming to the fight, you need to come, as he says, with the mindset that I'm coming here with the mindset of somebody who is already a winner. So you need to have that assurance. Yeah? So that then that gives you the fuel to move forward. Yeah. When I was attempting to do my full marathon, because I had gone through training and I had done some very good time, getting a personal best in 10 kilometers, doing a personal best in 21 kilometers. Those gave me some form of confidence and reflection, celebrating that and bringing that into the next challenge and saying, I have done this achievement in the past. I know I can be able to translate that in what is ahead of me. So I think that's very important. Yeah. Last year, I was very determined to run the full marathon, Standard Chartered. I really trained for it. I signed up 3 months. I showed up, according to the coaches program. We had a training program. And I was really set. So I had a target of running the marathon at a certain time. I think it was 3 hours, 25 minutes. That was my target time based on the training and the fitness level at the time. So I did show up for the marathon day itself. I ran the marathon, and unfortunately I suffered an injury, like halfway, almost just about halfway in there. And I couldn't finish the race. So in a way, that was a dream kind of stopped before. So I did reflections. Of course, there were regrets, doubts, what would I have done differently and so forth. And then this year I said I'm going to retry again. I'm going to attempt that dream again. And so I had to tweak some few things based on the lessons I learned. In terms of how I trained, in terms of how I rested, among other things. And by God's grace, I was able to re-enroll again and run the race. And I got my time. Actually, I got better time than what I had planned for last year. So I think data then helps me. Now, what happens, like for us with the runners, is that you have data with you. You have devices that collect data. So they tell you whether you are ready, whether you need to do certain things, you need to rest, or the kind of runs you need to be doing a little bit more. So it gives you a fitness score and tells you, for you to run this race, based on your fitness score, you can only run it at this time. And most of the time, they are usually to some level accurate, 90-something point something accurate. Yeah. Looking at the condition of somebody who is running a marathon. So it is race day, it is 6:30 in the morning, you are on the start line, the call has been made. All those who are running 42.2 kilometers assemble. So you are assembling there is adrenaline, you have trained, there is anxiety, will I finish on time? And so what happened, and I want to pick from where he said you need to have a plan. So we do have what we call a pacing strategy, which is basically a plan. So you break down the 42 kilometers in a kilometer by kilometer basis. Yeah? So every kilometer, or how the terrain looks like in terms of elevation. So it gives you the target times you need to be running on those. So some you'll be running slower for you to reach a certain time. So if you have conversant and you have the right tools to then track your data, it can beep. So you may feel like you want to move fast when you're at kilometer 5, but the watch tells you, hey, slow down. You have 37 kilometers to go. So, and basically that's what I did for my Standard Chartered Marathon. So
when you're speaking, I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
There's a way life is like a race.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, running looks very obvious. Who cannot run? But then it's what you're bringing out is very clear. It's very, very interesting that there are times you need to run slow. There are times you need to run fast. There are times you need to change your pace. There are times you need to change your strategy at every run, because it is 42 kilometers. Wow.
Yes, that's very important, because you only have so much energy and you have a lot of time to cover. You have a lot of distance to do that. So I think a 42.2 kilometer run, you'll do more than 3,000, about 3,000 calories. That's what you burn. So what you ate last night is not enough. Yeah, so you probably would need to fuel along the way, bite something small and something that you can quickly digest, because your digestive system is also, at that point, is constrained because all your energy is going to your muscles. So there's a lot of planning. Our coach usually says there are 3 things when you are doing a marathon. Number one, there are 3 goals. Yeah, and it's either of the 3. So goal number 1 is to finish alive. Like the Tanzanian, at least he finished when he was alive.
Finish alive.
Number 2, if you are able to finish alive, then can you finish on time? On time in the sense that before they close the course. You could finish alive, but everybody has gone home. Yeah? But then number 3, get a personal best. So in that order. So first of all, your health is important. Don't kill yourself to finish.
Yes.
Yeah? But if you have the strength, then try and finish within the time, so that at least there are people who celebrate you when you finish.
Yeah.
And then lastly, if you've trained well, you train to get a personal best, then you are within it, push and get the personal best. So you do need that. I was coming back because I suffered an injury in late October last year while doing the Standard Chartered Marathon. Then I had to take a break for a month or so, recover, and then I started training for the Kilimanjaro Marathon in February of this year.
Okay.
So that training was difficult because I had not properly healed. And I went to that run when I was not, completely fit. So I remember during the run, I was doing 21 kilometers in that time. So the first 6 kilometers were very difficult for me. It was quite a hilly terrain. So at some point I started having discussions with myself and wondering, did I travel all this way to suffer this much?
You became the Tanzanian.
I transported myself to come and suffer like this in a foreign land. But I pushed through pain, and I found myself past the 10 kilometers, past the 11th, the 12th, and before, lo and behold, I was doing 19, and finally 21. I was inside the field and the crowds were cheering, and I pushed to the finish line. And you know what? I had a personal best in that 21 kilometers against all the odds. So it was a personal best of pain, of persistence, of perspiration, but of pleasure. So I celebrated that with that understanding. It was from the setbacks, it was like coming back from the brink of defeat.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues used to say, it is snatching victory from the jaws of defeat.
Wow.
So I think it's important to celebrate, and especially celebrate when you're coming through, extreme setbacks. Yes. When I started out as a recreational runner, I used to run fast. I started off like a Ferrari. they use those terms when we are doing hiking and climbing. You have the Subarus who are the faster than the others. So I used to run pretty fast. But that's all I used to do. So I would shoot quickly, do my 10-kilometer run, finish, come and shower and start my day, and I would feel good. So the adrenaline rush of doing speed run all the time, is what excited me and made me want to go out and run. Now, running was like, something that was not really part and parcel of my life then. It was another thing I was doing. So it was not in the bigger circles of my why. Yeah, and in the process, I got injuries because of running badly, running one type of run all the time. Because in running, there are different types of runs. You need to do slower runs, you need to do recovery runs, you need to do speed work. They are different, and they have times. So you have to organize your training plan that much. So I didn't have a plan. That's how I used to do it. But the injury forced me to reset. So I had to go down, and because I couldn't run anymore for like a month, I had to get physiotherapy, help, recovery, and come back. And somebody told me, you need to get into a plan, a proper plan. And in the plan, the coach insisted on running slow. Yeah, that was painfully hard for me. Yeah, to run slower by almost covering the same distance you used to cover in twice the time was painfully difficult for me. It was very discouraging the first few weeks. But, by and by I got used to it. And then I started enjoying running slower, despite the fact that I have the ability to run fast. And that built endurance in me. There is something they call developing your aerobic base, because running is aerobics. It's a game of the feet, moving one foot and the other. Yeah. So in the process, I built my endurance, and I was able to run longer without getting tired. Before, I couldn't do more than 10, 15 kilometers because of that, your threshold, you reach a certain threshold and you cannot move faster anymore. And so that reset in the process made me to reconcile my lifestyle of running into my life as a human being. So I went to my profile, my athlete profile on Strava. There's an application called Strava where we track our activities. And I updated my bio. I said that I am a faith-driven recreational runner. So I honor God through my running. So besides just running, it is also a place to create a community, to come and fellowship. There are people, they find therapy in running. They look for company in running. They look for someone they can talk to in that space. So we have, in the process, developed a community of believers there to encourage one another, to pray for one another, to pray while we are running, to pray during the run, and also to encourage and reach out to others. And I think that then becomes, my bigger why, even as I enroll into these things.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've been very intentional in terms of, bringing all these pieces together. So a typical day, for example, today is a working day. I was meant to be running. I was meant to do a long run in the morning. I couldn't because of this show. But typically I have to plan my day early enough to wake up early so that I do my run finish by 7:30, latest 8 o'clock. Most of the time I work from home, so my meetings probably would start at 9, so by then I've taken breakfast ready to start the day. Yeah. So, you know, that's very intentional. You have a training calendar, it dictates how you then organize the time. You synchronize that with your calendar for work, and then for other social engagement. So you plan around that. Weekends sometimes can be, you know, you have family engagements. You also need to do your morning long run. So how do you tie these pieces together? So I think it's just being intentional. But the bigger question is why? You know, it has to tie into the why.
This why is not running out.
Because if you think about it, at the end of the day, you can be very busy. You can clutter your life with a lot of activity,
Yes.
and, you know, shadow boxing all over the place. But you don't see, you know, the end result, or you cannot tell, you know, what you achieved at the end. So the why has to be very clear, and that's why I choose what I want to suffer in in terms of my training, because I know the bigger why. I choose who I want to engage with, what kind of forums I want to be in, and I'm very particular, you know, how much of my time I want to give to that. Yeah.
Amazing.
That you're in a phase or in a season where the culture of productivity is so high, and all of us are obsessed with results, numbers, and outcomes, outputs, what you're able to show in terms of numbers. And peer pressure tends to push us to the extreme, such that one mistake makes you feel like, you know, it's the end of the world. But we ourselves, you know, showing up in life is a form of achievement. There are people probably who are not in a position where you are. There are people who admire the life you have. They may not tell you, you may not know it, but it's true. So God has given you things that others do not have or only dream of. Take a stock of your life, take stock of what you have, and appreciate that, and use that as fuel to move you forward. The battle is not to the brave, neither is the race to the swift, but time and chance happens to all. I want to echo what Steve has said. We all have our own races. We all have time. I think, do we have the discipline? Do we have the commitment to go the full hog? So stick to your plan. Have a plan, stick to the plan, execute according to your aspirations and your ability, and celebrate small wins as you get towards your bigger goal. Do not be distracted by others' goals and what they have achieved. Focus on your own goal and trust God to help you deliver. Thank you.